إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. Brothers and sisters, I want you to ask yourselves, when you think of the future, how do you think of it? When you think of the future, is it that you think of what you hope to accomplish in the future? What type of legacy you want to leave? If you are doing these things, alhamdulillah, it is good. It is what the Prophet ﷺ would recommend that we do. As he mentioned in a hadith, ﷺ, he said, hasten to do good deeds before 7 types of affliction hits you. Very similar to the hadith of do 5 before 5. This builds upon it. He ﷺ says, hasten to do good deeds before 7 things afflict you. Number 1, that you become so poor, that you're in such economic difficulty, such hardship, that you are unable to do anything but work. You're so busy on staying afloat, paying your rent, buying food, making sure your family is taken care of, that you can't do anything but just work. Number 2, that the opposite happens, that you become so rich, and those who have encountered this will say that this is its own type of fitna, that they're so rich that they have no ability to focus on anything but safeguarding that wealth, but trying to protect that wealth and keep that wealth going. Meaning that they're so successful, it's hard for us to imagine, but they're so successful that they always need to be looking at security guards, they need to be looking at people not taking their money, they need to protect their assets, their stocks, they need to make sure that all that flux of money, they need to make sure they have a way to keep that money going, and so on and so forth. Its own headache. That you get to a point that you're thinking, okay, once I reach $100,000 or $1 million or $10 million, that's when I will commit my life to Islam. You reach that amount and you realize it's not enough. Your lifestyle has also increased. The expenses of the world have also increased. As the phrase says, $1 million barely buys a family's shoes nowadays. And so the Prophet ﷺ is alluding to this, that you will never be satiated with money and never stop doing good and thinking, I will do good once I achieve a certain milestone. Because that in and of itself is another fitna, another struggle for you to be in. Number 3, do not wait until you are sick. Do not wait until you are infirm, you are unable to do anything. As Imam al-Shafi'i said, that health is a crown that only the sick can see. When you are sick, when you do not have the ability to get up from your bed and you see everyone walking about, you're like, oh man, I wish I could do it like that. When someone no longer has the ability to walk on their own and they're using a wheelchair, they're using a cane, and they see someone running past, man, I wish I could still run. When they see someone breathing on their own without needing to use tubes or a mask or another device, man, I wish I took care of that time when I could breathe on my own. So the Prophet ﷺ is reminding us that these are all things that all of us will go through. Number 4, he mentions old age. That if Allah grants us that ability to reach an older age, what then? As the Prophet ﷺ talked about, that we came from a time of weakness when we were babies, when we needed someone to take care of us, and we return to a time of weakness. We return to a time when we were just like babies. A lot of times you'll see grandparents and babies together, and you'll see a lot of things in resemblance. Both of them, the family's taken care of, taking them places, helping them with their needs. People that were once very strong and now a shadow of themselves. A very natural thing to happen. Something we as a community have to take care of. But the Prophet ﷺ is saying that before you reach that age, that if you're thinking, once I retire, then I'll be part of the masjid, then I'll be part of the community, then I'll do good, then I'll contribute back to society. What guarantee do you have that you will be able to do so? And then if you are even alive, and you are mobile, and your brain is still functioning, and you still have grasp of your faculties, how much will you be able to do? Your capacity has also dropped. The youth, the vigor that you had, the energy, the strength that you had, perhaps it's become too late. Perhaps it's become too late. And then the 6th and 7th that were tacked onto this were ones that are more of a larger catastrophe that we may or may not see. The first 5 that we've discussed, too little money, too much money, sickness, and old age. Those are all ones that we will absolutely go through. But the 6th and 7th are ones that we ask Allah to protect us from being involved in. The 6th one is the Dajjal. When you hear of the Dajjal, it is too late. It is a terrible punishment, a terrible fitna that many will not be successful from, that nobody will leave unscathed. A huge fitna. And the Prophet ﷺ is saying that, would you wait for that type of calamity to happen for you to realize, I need to be on the truth, I need to do what's right? And number 7 is as-sa'ah, the hour, the day of judgment, when it is absolutely too late. So the first thing for us taking from this hadith is this sense of urgency to do more and to realize now is the best time to do something, regardless of whatever is happening in your life. There is no time better than the present. As our scholars would say, do not leave off for tomorrow what you can do today, especially those items of goodness. It is very easy for us to think about that in terms of our career, in terms of something for the dunya. But in terms of, maybe let me spend some more time with the Qur'an, let me learn a verse, let me watch a lecture, or listen to a podcast about Islam. Those are the things that, I need to focus on my priorities. And the priorities are often the dunyawi ones, the ones in this world that we feel that there's more of a tangible impact on, as opposed to thinking about the hereafter and the type of goodness that will be there for us for a very long time. Those adhkar that you say that makes you plant a tree in Jannah is a tree you will benefit from for eternity. The simple adhkar we do now. And so why wouldn't we focus on that as well? Why wouldn't we prioritize that before we prioritize the dunya? It really is a question of how strong our iman is. If you knew, guaranteed, that by the end of this year, by the end of 2024, you were going to move to another state or another country, you're going to move to the southern climates and stay in warm weather, and you knew as guaranteed, you've already signed the lease on buying a house in Florida, for example, then how much time would you spend trying to add new furniture for this house? You'd be thinking, what do I build for the next house? What are the things I need to take with me? Dear Muslims, Jannah, and even in a larger scale, the hereafter is guaranteed. Jannah or Jahannam is guaranteed. And for us, inshallah, it is Jannah. We ask Allah to grant us the highest levels of Jannah. But that type of guarantee needs to be inculcated in our hearts and shown through our actions. If Islam is always the last priority, that before you're falling asleep, you're like, I didn't recite Qur'an today. Oh, I need to pray my witr, or I need to pray my isha. Oh, I should probably call my parents because I didn't talk to them. Oh, I should probably spend some time with the kids. Oh, I should. If those are the things that come in your mind after the whole day is taking place, and the vigor of your energy has been spent on everything else, and your family, your Lord, your religion gets the remainder, last bit of 5% of that battery power of yours right before you're about to knock out and fall asleep, then there's something that needs to be done, something that needs to be rectified. And we ask Allah to rectify our affairs and help us to prioritize that which is best. Brothers and sisters, this inshallah is the first part, is thinking of what we will do in the future. But I think there's something more important that we need to focus on. More important than what you will do. And that is the idea of who will you be in the future. And the reason I bring this up, brothers and sisters, is that the way that it works in the West, the way it works in this very materialistic, empirical way of thinking of the world is, I want to think of a specific thing that I will do. And then once I do said thing, I am successful. Once I have acquired enough of these gold or silver or stocks or Bitcoin or whatever it might be, I am now successful. But what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions is that what's most important is that we come to Allah, إِلَّا مَنْ أَتَى اللَّهِ بِقَلْبٍ سَلِيمٍ. That we come with that pure heart. I.e., in other words, it's more important that you come as a good person much more than it is just about those deeds. Those deeds are important, don't get me wrong. Those deeds make you a good person. The only way to purify yourself, the only way to be a better person is by doing those good deeds. But who you are is much, much more important. And when you are a good person or your heart is clean, the goodness will flow. Then it is not a question of what will I do in the future, but it's rather who will you be in that situation. And so many beautiful examples from the lives of the Prophet, of all the Prophets, salawatullah alayhim, as well as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wasallam. You look at the life of Prophet Yusuf, in the story of Surah Yusuf, you find that Prophet Yusuf is now in prison. And imagine if Prophet Yusuf took the approach many of us take, in that he has a bucket list, that by the age of 30 I must accomplish this, by the age of 40 I must have gotten married, must have a house, must have this many children, and I must have this type of job title. Yusuf a.s. has accomplished none of them. Literally. He was at the bottom of a well, a very righteous and noble person, a prophet, son of a prophet, son of a prophet. He doesn't have a steady career, he's in prison. He doesn't have a house, he's in prison. He doesn't have any wife or kids at this point, he's in prison. So from a dunyawi perspective, he is a failure. His resume, his CV would show slave, prison. And yet he is of the most successful people to ever live on this earth. And you see, when the situation was right, he goes from this, even with this type of CV, this type of resume, he ends up becoming one of the rulers of his land, a finance minister, someone with a great deal of power that seemingly happened overnight, but it was not overnight. He had great character throughout. And so, brothers and sisters, the mindset shift we need to have is not what we will do per se, but who will we be? What do we want to be known by? That if the situation is good, I am still known by this. If the situation is not good, I am still known by this. I am not only a generous person when I have a lot of money, I am a generous person even when I don't have much. As the famous Sahabiya, the famous female Sahabi, the one who, when she was with her kids and she was given a few dates that of her spirit of generosity, from the little that she had, she even split her own date and give it to her kids. It didn't change that she said, I'll give you some once I take care of myself. No, that spirit of generosity was always there. Gentleness. Allah is gentle and loves gentleness in all things. Inna Allah rafiq yuhibbur rifq fil amri kullih, fi kulli shay. For in everything, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala loves gentleness. Not only when you're talking with someone who's soft-spoken, someone who's an elder, someone who's a sheikh, someone who's respected, then you're very nice. But then when you go to a restaurant and there's a waiter, someone who makes less than you presumably, and you treat them differently. Or someone who's helping you with your luggage, you treat them differently. Or someone who works for you as an employee of yours, you treat them differently. And you realize, no, I will not be gentle with them. I need to be hard. I need to be a certain way with them. No. Allah loves gentleness in all things. If it is part of your character when things are good, it should be part of your character when things are bad, when the situation is bad. Those men come to Yusuf alayhi salam while he's in prison, and they tell him about a dream that they had. Number one, why did they come to him to tell him about a dream? There were plenty of other people in prison. Why did they decide to go to him? Because of his good character. Number two, they go to him and they start talking to him and they share their dream. How does Yusuf alayhi salam respond? Because his character is a God-fearing one, because he himself is someone whose mind is in the hereafter, someone who's strategically thinking beyond just the question. Before he answers a question, he reminds them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He talks about the favors that Allah has given him. He talks about that everything goes back to Allah. He first grounds them and orients them and talks to them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala before everything else. Which is amazing. If you and I were stuck in prison for a crime we did not commit, and we've been in there for some time and we don't see any way out of this prison, and someone came to you saying, I saw a dream, or I need your help with something, would you help them? Why would you help them? That's where character comes from. So what would you do in that situation? That's what character comes from. And when you have this mindset, I will be the same regardless, it does not matter if you have a lot or not a lot. Because what you have is just an excuse. You will say that, I can't do this because Allah hasn't blessed me with money yet, or Allah hasn't given me this. You start shifting the blame on others, وَلِيَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ, even on your Lord. وَلِيَعُوذُ بِاللَّهِ. You are blaming your circumstances instead of saying, I will do what I can. And so Yusuf a.s. number 2, he tells them about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then about the dream, he actually interprets it. And then he tells them, number 3, finally he goes and he talks about the situation. He says, if you have a chance to plead my case to the king, please do so. The man forgot, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala still made the king see his own dream, which reminded the man. And then Yusuf a.s. is brought to the king, and we know the rest, how he himself is promoted into a position of power. You know what's amazing is if that man remembered immediately, do you think Yusuf a.s. would have become a minister of finance? Do we think he would have been a malik, a ruler? Do we think that the king would have wanted him to be in such an important power? He might have just gone back to his family and lived a different life. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala had something else in mind for him. And so the lesson here for us, brothers and sisters, is when you think of the future, when you make your plans, do not think only in terms of what you want to do. That is important. That will help you be who you want to be. But more importantly, ask yourself, in this year, in 2024, in this Hijri year, before Ramadan comes, I want to develop these qualities about myself. I want to be known for these certain things. I want to be known, and what you are known for is up to you. There are many stations of goodness. If you're able to reach all of them, as Abu Bakr radhiyallahu anhu did, amazing. Alhamdulillah, good for you. But realistically, look at what you are good at. Look at what comes to you naturally. Look at what you enjoy doing when you are able to do so. and then make that the quality that you are known for. Some people will be known for their adhkar. They love saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar, and that's what they're known for. Others will be known for their charity, whether secretly or openly. Whatever they have, they're constantly giving. And they just love this. And they're known for this. Others are known for their salah. Others are known for helping community members with food. They're always the one that whenever someone's sick, they rely on this person to cook food for the community. Other people are known as the doctors in the community. They're the ones who are healing and with the permission of Allah, helping people. Others are known for education. Whatever you're known for, there is goodness in that, and the community needs that. But that is something that should become part of you. You are not just, for example, a teacher. When you walk into a classroom, you are always a teacher. A lot of the life lessons we learn when we're interacting with people all day. If you are someone who helps people with medicine, you're giving people advice not just within the clinic, but you're talking to them always about it. If you're someone who gives charity, you don't only give charity during the fundraiser, but you're giving charity every Friday, every day. It's just who you are. And that is the secret of greatness. To be someone that inshallah you enter Jannah and you are listed amongst the great, you are consistent in your character. You're consistent in the good that you do, regardless of where you are, when it happens, because it's all about who you are. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa man wala. Brothers and sisters, we learn from the prophets that to be good is not just an action or just a deed that we do at a certain time, but it is part of your DNA. It is something that becomes part of who you are. And the way to get to that is by doing those good deeds. But realize those deeds are just a means towards an end. And if you focus just on the means, if you focus and you think that Jannah is just a transaction, that Jannah just means that if I have my debit is more than my credit, my debit of good deeds are more than my credit of bad deeds, I will get in, that's the wrong way of thinking of it. Because realize those good deeds are based on your sincerity, are based on the quality of doing it, based on the way you've done it. You don't control all of that. And that is why so many people will come, and we ask Allah to protect us from this. So many will come on the Day of Judgment with mountains and mountains of good deeds. And people will know them even for being a trailblazer, an amazing person who left a big legacy. And they will come with these mountains of good deeds, and they will all be wiped away. For different reasons, including that they used to sin in private, including that they used to backbite, including that they used to slander and gossip about people. So many things, and we ask Allah to protect us from that. When you think of the future, when you make your resolutions, when you make your commitment for the future, think about the good you will do, but think about the good you will be. I'll end with this story. The Prophet ﷺ, when he is escaping as a refugee from Mecca to Medina, when he is allowed to just focus on survival, when he just needs to get out so that Islam can be strong in another land, he ﷺ does not stop giving da'wah. He does not stop the goodness in that time. He ﷺ is on the way, and Suraqa bin Malik, a man who became a Sahaba radiallahu anh, finds him along the path. And he is going towards the Prophet ﷺ with the intention to kill him, and he keeps on falling, and he's just unable to reach the Prophet ﷺ. He finally reaches him, and he asks him for protection, like he realizes this is now a divine thing. The Prophet ﷺ in that moment tells him that how do you think you would feel to wear the bracelets of Khusra, of the Persian emperor, of Kisra, And Suraqa is looking at him and saying, thinking in his mind, this is a man who's just with one other man. The Prophet and Abu Bakr, they have a guide, but it's really just these two. And they're escaping on camelback. And they are so easily, so susceptible to anything happening. They're in a weakened position. In a position where they're just worried about survival. And the Prophet ﷺ says, how do you think it would feel to wear the bracelets of Kisra? And subhanallah, the Prophet ﷺ right now, what is he doing? He's giving da'wah. He's talking about the future. He's making them think and with that full certainty that Islam will be successful, that you will be successful. He's giving da'wah even in this very difficult moment. SubhanAllah, just a few decades later, Suraqa says that I was there when the army conquered Persia. The same ummah that was fleeing with just the clothes on their back towards Medina, leaving everything behind. All their goals and dreams and aspirations, all left behind. He says, I saw the bracelets of Kisra and Umar radhiyallahu anh put them on me. He says, how does it feel wearing the bracelets of Kisra? SubhanAllah. And he was taken around Medina saying, these are the bracelets of Kisra. This is the prophethood coming alive. Brothers and sisters, the prophethood continues to stay alive. The prophecies continue to be true. Many things, inshallah, will happen in our lifetimes. And there will be times when we are healthy and when we are sick. There will be times when we are well-to-do and we are not well-to-do. There will be times when we are youthful and there are times when we won't be youthful. There will be times when we are young, there will be times when we are old. Throughout all of it, never stop doing goodness. Always focus on the person you will be. The goal is to come to Allah with that clean heart, with that sincere heart. The question is, how will you get there? And what is the goodness that you want to focus on? We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us people of goodness. We ask Allah to make it that others know us to be good and that we are sincerely good for His sake and His sake alone. And we ask Allah that we are able to meet Him with clean, sincere hearts. And that as a result of that, we all enter Jannatul Firdaus. ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار ربنا لا تزغ قلوبنا بعد إذ هديتنا وهب لنا من لدنك رحمة إنك أنت الوهاب وأقم الصلاة